Hey filmmakers, I'm going to go through a few effects using Adobe After Effects. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my footage here. This is MVI 0029, and this is going to have, I'm going to do a couple of different things with it. I'm going to right click the footage and make a new comp from selection. Now anytime you create a teleportation or a super speed effect, you're going to start by making a jump cut. So I'm going to have him where he starts to move, and then right where I'm going to start the super speed or the teleportation, I'm going to split this layer. So I'm going to do Control, Shift, and the letter D on the keyboard, and that splits that layer right at that time. Okay, one more time. I move it to the time where I want to start the super speed or teleport effect, and I do Control, Shift, and the letter D. Now I'm going to move forward to where we have a clean plate. He's out of the scene, and I'm going to have the paper being thrown, and it's a jump cut. So all of this footage between here and where he's out of the scene, so he's here, and then we have the paper. Now right in between here, so right on this cut, that's where we need the effect. And that's where we're going to need our actor cut out, and we're going to apply the effects to him. To get that, I'm going to go to my layer 1, which I'm going to call beginning move. I'm going to do Control D on the keyboard, or I can go to Edit and Duplicate. And I just want to get one frame of our actor here doing that move. So right there, I'm going to get rid of everything else. So I just have that one frame right there. And I'm going to, actually I don't like that frame. I want that frame. There. That'll be okay. I'm going to get this one frame. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stall this. I'm going to go to Layer, Time, and Freeze Frame. Okay? So that allows me to have just this one frame for as long as I want. I only need it for a few frames for a super speed thing. Okay, so we're going to do super speed first. I'm going to cut out, I'm going to use this tool here, the pen tool, and I'm going to cut out around my actor. So just dot, 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 right on the edge here. I'm going to take, I'm going to call that speed. I'm going to move it up to the top because that's going to be in front of everything else. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add motion blur or directional blur to this. So I just start typing direction. Here's directional blur. I can either apply it down here on this layer or onto my cutout right here. And I'm going to have the blur go in that direction. I'm going to have it be super blurry. So I'm going to stretch that out, the blur length to maybe 150. Like that. So it looks like I'm super fat, or it looks like that student is so fast that he's causing, maybe even make it longer. So it just looks like a blur. Okay, that's how to do a super speed. I'm going to duplicate this layer, but I'm going to delete the effects to make a warping effect. So I'm going to rename this warp. So if instead of doing a super speed, you want to do like a warp effect where it looks like he warps out of the picture, maybe I'll actually take a different frame altogether. Now the warping effect is a little bit different. So here's this part of the footage where it's just the paper kind of flying around and everyone realizing what happened. This is a part of the video where the actor is not in there. We call this a clean plate. So we want the clean plate to be behind our effect. So the clean plate is behind the speed effect, and the clean plate is going to be behind our warp effect. So on the layer that I called warp, again, I select out my actor, and I'm using the pen tool like that. And I'm going to have the character do some effects and then warp out of the scene. So I'm going to type in distort, and you can play around with this. I'm going to do displacement. I'm going to do turbulent displace. So I'm going to select him, and I'm going to animate the amount. So I'm going to turn on the keyframe for displacement amount. Oh, for the amount there. And as it goes, it's going to warp around a lot more. So what happens is he kind of gets sucked into a portal here. And I also want it to get smaller too. So I'm going to click on the word warp here, that layer, hit S on the keyboard, click on the keyframe, the stopwatch there, and I'm going to have the scale go from 100% down to 0%. Like that. Now, I don't like how he gets sucked into the middle of the table there. So I'm going to move this so it's at the center of him. So I'm going to go to the pan behind tool. I'm going to take this little centering dot for that layer. I'm going to put it right where I want him to get sucked down into. That looks a lot better. Now it feels like it should be a little bit more, like there should be more happening on the screen. So I'm going to go layer, new, solid. I'm going to call this a lens flare. And we're going to go here, we're going to type in lens flare. And we're going to toggle switches and modes. We're going to turn that mode to add. We're going to have the flare center be right on the center there. And we're going to animate the flare brightness. So at the beginning of our warping, it's going to be at 0. As it gets bigger, or as he goes away, we're going to turn the brightness up. I'm going to go back a little bit and then turn it back to 0. So it has this kind of light flash that happens. And if you want, you can add some more things like a puff of dust. So if we go to our visual effects area and we have powder burst or dust puff here, we can get from the assignment pickup page. We can include those projects or those effect footages as well. Just try that again. Okay, I'll just put it right on there, enlarge it a little bit, and we'll make sure that it starts. There we go. like that. So now we have this kind of, you know, smoky powder burst as he goes away. So there's two things. That's one way to do a warp. Feel free to try some of the other effects in here and ask me questions as you have them. That's one way to do a warping effect or a speed effect. And remember, it all starts with a jump cut between the actor there and then not there, and then you want to cover that jump cut with some sort of effect happening to the actor.